Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston Astros podcast for diehard Astros fans from a diehard Astros fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster that you are currently listening to, at least. I'm an improviser, an exerciser, an equalizer, and creative multi-hyphenate. Of course, I'm a Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. I saw Warren Moon play Oiler football. I am that old and that Houston. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer out here in Los Angeles, and now I am podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. They place you in a polycule and give you a podcast. Welcome to said podcast. This is what my brother calls the Paul Broadpod Ball Blog. A little Arrested Development nod there. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience. I started Space Cadet Sports as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard, long-term fan of the Houston Astros. You know, we don't try to be these new fans that are doom and gloom Astros fans, nor do we try to be the worst version of this, the national media haters. You know, we love the baseball team here from Houston, and we root them on and try to discuss the ins and outs of the team without too much homerism. The key word here is try. We try to be reasonable and not too hot-takey or reactionary. And now that football season is here, it's time to talk some Texans as well. We are recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles. I am joined by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier, Carla the dog, is here with me today. She may get on mic from time to time. She has hot takes, I'm not going to silence her. Her hot takes do involve the mailman most of the time, but, I don't want to silence that voice. I want her to get on mic and say what she has to say. On this episode, we will recap the Astros sweep of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. We will also recap the Texans' win on their Sunday night football primetime game. We'll look at the American League West hunt and talk more playoff rotation questions and even stop by the Dynamo Corner. That's right, we even have the Houston Dynamo incorporated into this podcast today. We involve everybody here. Shout out H-Town. We love you here. Let's jump into the podcast here. Let's just jump in, folks. It's the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. The Astros got a sweep yesterday. The Texans impressed in prime time, and because of that, let's talk a little grilling here. I busted out the Weber. I turned it into a slow cooker for some carnitas. Oh my goodness. I had to literally stop eating carnitas because I needed to record the podcast. I almost made myself another plate of tacos. It came out pretty good, folks. So definitely a good day here for us yesterday, because the Astros game was locally blacked out. I was not able to watch it until after the football game, so it was a long day of sports here for my poor partner Sarah that had to put up with me watching a lot of baseball, watching a lot of football, in between slow cooking my carnitas. So there was a lot of emotion yesterday, a lot of late night worrying. I watched the game late as my carnitas was slow cooking. I stayed up till like maybe 2:30 to make sure the carnitas was at the right temperature. We needed to make sure that fat was rendering, folks. But enough about my carnitas. Let's move on to these Houston Astros, folks. Your Houston Astros got a sweep of the LA Angels of Anaheim, and you love to see it. Not only do you want to beat the Angels, who are, in division, even if they're lowly rivals, they're divisional lowly rivals. It's good to get some divisional wins, but also because the Astros need to be stockpiling wins right now, as they're doing, making their playoff push at the end of the middle of September here, trying to get the AL West division once again and get another strong playoff push that we are so used to seeing in the golden era of Houston Astros baseball. Not gonna lie, folks, I'm over here vamping, trying to find my notes. It's going to be another day of low notes. Don't worry, folks, we'll get through it together. I touted myself as an improviser. Let's see. Let's see if I can live up to it. UCB is calling. They want my accreditation back. They're saying to take it off my acting resume. Let's see here, folks. So for game one, the Astros win. Now this should be fairly easy to me. The Astros win 2 games back to back, 5-3. In game one, they win 5-3. The starting pitcher in this game for them is Yusei Kikuchi, who went out there and battled it out. Kyler Tucker is also back in this game, playing the field. Another good thing of note in this game is we're starting to see more and more Jose Altuve, who we were worried about, particularly his oblique. He was out with a side injury. He's had an oblique injury in the past. We were hoping that he did not hurt that oblique, as we need everybody healthy for the end of the season here. And this team has been very banged up this season, and it has led into September. So it was good to see some usual suspects out there in the lineup. You want to see the lineup be Altuve, Alvarez, Diaz, Tucker, Bregman. Then you have Pena, Caratini, Myers, and Dubon. So this was a lineup that I really like. I know some people are very particular about Yordan hitting second, but I think that's mostly Yordan. I think Yordan does not like getting up there so quickly. He likes a little bit more time. But when he's DHing, I feel like it's a little bit easier for him to get up there and bat second. I think depending on the type of pitcher too. I know some people are like, Yordan should never bat second, but if you have a lefty up there, I don't mind Yordan batting second with a left-handed pitcher and having Bregman bat a little later. In this game, it obviously yielded amazing results, so it's very easy for me to be congratulatory to this lineup, knowing what came out of it. But when I saw this lineup get posted, I was rubbing my hands together with glee. I started twirling my evil mustache up. For those of you who are non-Astros fans, listener, I started twirling my mustache and cackling with delight. Everything was starting to come together. This was a great lineup to see. Of note in this lineup as well, Yordan was DHing, so Yanner was first base. Caratini was the catcher in this game. Kikuchi, like I said, battled it out. He got his 9th win of the season here, going 7 innings pitched, giving up 3 hits. That's good for 3 runs and 3 earned runs, so a very efficient Angels offense there against Kikuchi, getting up 3 runs off of 3 hits. Kikuchi also walked 2 batters, striking out 6, popping that Kikuchi 6 times in this game. Got 1 home run that was let up that really helped that offensive efficiency for the LA Angels. Obviously, 3 runs isn't exactly what you want, but 3 runs is not so bad. In 7 innings pitched, that is a quality start. That is a great outing and a long outing from Kikuchi in this game. You love to see it. He has been amazing since he has been a Houston Astro. While GM Dana Brown may have given off a lot of pieces for Yusei Kikuchi for a quote-unquote rental, mid-pitcher, this trade is working out for the Houston Astros. At the end of the day, it was a seller's market. Dana Brown had to put together a great package for the pitcher that he wanted. That's what people were saying at the time. You can go back and check the receipts. Like I always say, go back and listen to me on the podcast saying that we were going to go for a mid-tier starting pitcher at the deadline. It was a seller's market. He said, a lot of the reporting was that this was the pitcher the Astros were targeting, so they paid heavily for him to make sure they got the man that they wanted. You might say overpay, but I say it's okay because Yusei has been amazing as a Houston Astro. He is powering them to a playoff push here. We'll get to the AL West race a little later, but Kikuchi has been amazing. I will type up those GM Dana Brown apology forms for you Astros fans out there that were slandering his name at the trade deadline. Dana Brown deserves a lot of credit for this roster, who he's really transformed it in the middle of a season with very limited resources, trying not to go over a certain cap and bringing players in that can contribute and getting players that Joe Espada would use. Moving on, let's go ahead and kind of look at the overall offense in this game. The Astros won 5-3. They got the offense going early. And they kept it, they kind of lost a little steam in the middle of the game, but got another run up there towards the end of the game. Overall, it was a great offensive performance all around with everybody getting a hit. Everybody eats when you come to my house. Definitely Cap Callaway special there. Another, how CJ Stroud likes to have it. Altuve was 1 for 4 with an RBI. Jordan was 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, hitting a solo bolo out in the 9th inning to put the Astros up 5-3 towards the end there. We also have Yainer Diaz getting another multi-hit game, going 2 for 4, also working a walk in this game. Didn't mention it, but Tuve worked a walk as well. Kyle Tucker was 1 for 4 in the game with the walk worked. He did strike out twice, but he's still coming back. It's good to see him in the field. Good to see him work a walk. It's good to see him get a hit. Bregman was 5th in this game. He batted 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. He worked a walk as well. He also struck out once, and he hit his 23rd home run of the season in the 3rd inning off of Allegary with 1 on to put the Astros up 2-0 in the set in the that's in the 3rd inning. So yeah, he put the Astros up 4-0 at that point in the game, I believe. Yeah, sorry. This is why you have notes, folks. But yeah, so that was a great offensive performance from Brecky there. Pena was 2 for 5 in this game. Caratini was 2 for 4 with a walk. Myers was 1 for 4, and Doobie at the bottom of the order was 2 for 3 with a walk. So getting results all across the lineup. The team got 14 hits, if you're doing the math with me. That's good for 5 runs and 5 RBIs with 6 walks and only 5 strikeouts. More walks and strikeouts. That's how you do it. You do that, more walks and strikeouts. You get a couple long balls. You go 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Wait a second, what? Yeah, no, the Astros did, everything else was looking pretty good there for the Astros. With runners in scoring position, they were 0 for 9, leaving 11 men on base. However, it didn't matter. The reason it didn't matter was those long balls. And there's something I've been saying is if the Astros are going to be struggling with the runners in scoring position, it is imperative for their offense to have some home runs. You need 1 or 2 a game if you're not going to if you're going to minimally be hitting with runners in scoring position. If you're not playing station to station, it really makes your offense depend on those long balls. Good enough for a win here with 2 of them. You love to see it. Let's check in with Paul's pen pals as we go to the pen here. With Kikuchi going 7 innings, you didn't have to dip into the pen too deep here. Brian Abreu picked up his 36th hold of the season, pitching the 8th inning and picking up 2 strikeouts. And Josh Hader came in for his 30th save of the year, pitching the 9th, getting 2 strikeouts as well, not to be outdone by Brian Abreu. So that was that first game there against the Angels in Anaheim. The second game we have, let's see, folks. The Astros, of course, win 5-3. JV is back, baby. Question mark? Solid outing for Justin Verlander. His breaking pitches finally seem to be back, at least competitive enough for pitchers to swing at or to not lay off. Part of the reason his game was so bad last outing is none of those breaking pitches were competitive enough. The hitters were really able to just lay off a breaking pitch anytime they saw it coming and just wait and sit on fastball. I really do think, a lot of people are like, his fastball's garbage. I think his fastball's still decent. I just think that his problem wasn't that his fastball is bad, is that he can't set up his fastball. When all you have is a fastball, for these professional hitters, you just turn into a pitching machine. They don't swing on the breaking ball or the off speed. They wait for that fastball and line it up. And that's what JV's problem has been. Before that, he was struggling with the feel for his fastball. He finally has a feel back, but he needs to locate that breaking ball. He's making those adjustments. You love to see it. His breaking ball was back because he was able to be competitive in this game. This game also had a Kyle Tucker pinch hit. You love to see that as well. Joe Espada loves to bring his players off the bench for the pinch hits to get some offense going for his team. In this game, let's see here. We're getting Verlander's stat line up. Verlander won his 4th game of the season. He gave 5 innings pitched, gave up 4 hits. That's good for 2 runs, 2 of them earned. He walked 2 batters and struck out 2 batters. I believe he just tied Max Scherzer for 10th on the all-time strikeout list. Obviously, low strikeouts there, but also low walks. This is a crafty veteran outing. Justin Verlander, in my mind, did enough to keep his name in the mix for a pitcher that we can use in the playoffs, potentially even in the starting pitching role. I think, with his last couple outings, fans have been very gun shy of saying that Verlander is Verlander, and I get it. He's looked pretty shaky this season. He's been injured, coming back from injury. It's been mixed results, but I think Justin Verlander is a competitor. I was saying this is his spring training. It's hard to have a spring training in September for anybody, but I think he could figure it out and piece together some pitches, find a way to compete for this team, and figure it out by playoff time because he is a veteran. He has one more start to show that he still has what it takes. I think he's going to solidify. He might not be the Justin Verlander that we saw going out there, just striking everybody out, putting his fastball by everybody, but he can figure out a way to contribute to this team, and this is what this outing showed. Now, the problem is the Houston Astros have a lot of amazing starting pitching. Earlier this season, everybody was worried we didn't have enough starting pitching. The problem is we had too much injured starting pitching. So now that it's late in the season and people are healthy, we have a plethora of starting pitching that is great. And Justin Verlander, while he is pitching back into shape and to form, is he somebody you want in that playoff rotation? We will get to that later. First, let's check in with the offense of the Houston Astros in this 5-3 win here that Justin Verlander won. This game wasn't quite as amazing as the last offensive effort. You definitely have to give it up to Tyler Anderson, who pitched 5 innings in this game. He did get 4 strikeouts. He looked pretty good. He was able to compete against the Houston Astros and make this game tougher for them. Altuve did get a multi-hit game. He started at second base again. He was 2 for 5 with a strikeout. Yordan Alvarez once again gets another home run, his 34th of the season in the 5th inning. Yordan was 1 for 4 in the game with 2 RBIs, a walk, and a strikeout. Yainer Diaz once again played first base. He was 2 for 5. He struck out twice in this game, but he still was able to get 2 hits. So his average is still over 300. But whenever Yainer starts to build those strikeouts up, I get a little nervous. Breggy had a tough game today, going 0 for 4, getting 2 strikeouts. It was definitely a tough one for him in this game. I think I said today, but obviously it was not today. Pena was 2 for 4, getting a multi-hit game. That was really cool. Seeing Pena continue to trend upwards. We will need Pena defensively and offensively in the playoffs, so we're hoping that he kind of solidifies some of those rougher edges of his performances this season. He's been really good, but there's been some defensive glitches. There's been some swinging outside of the zone and just whiffing on balls. So we're hoping that he continues to get multi-hit games, 0 strikeouts. That's what we're rooting for Pena. At the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, at least. Caratini started at catcher again. He was 1 for 3. Gamble was lifted out of this game. Ben Gamble, he had a rough slide into right field on a defensive play. The Astros defense in this game was absolutely phenomenal. But Gamble is out with a knee bruise now, so he had a tough game. And Dubon was at the bottom of the lineup. He ended up going for 0 for 3 in this game, and he was lifted for Tucker to pinch hit for him at the end of the game. And Tucker was 1 for 1 with a home run, getting a pinch hit home run. You love to see that. That was in the 9th inning, getting a little insurance for the Astros to help them win 5-3 here. That was Tucker's 20th home run of the season there. The team with runners in scoring position was 1 for 5, leaving 8 men on base, picking up 10 hits, but only getting 4 RBIs, 4 walks with a high 10 strikeouts in this game. It doesn't help with a couple 2 strikeout efforts from the middle of the lineup, but overall just a bit of a tougher game for the Astros at the plate with some plate discipline there. Let's check in with Paul's pen pals here real quick. Going to the pen with the Justin Verlander, you expected him not to go very deep into this game with only a couple guys used last game. You're thinking we're going to get a pretty big bullpen game. The bullpen did great as a whole, only gave up 1 earned run, only on 2 hits and 2 walks. The bullpen played out in the 6th inning as this. Hector Neris came in the 6th, got a strikeout and his 5th hold of the season. In the 7th, we had Caleb Ort, Big Shady, getting his 2nd hold of the season and picking up 2 strikeouts as well. Let's see there. Yeah, in the 8th, we had Taylor Scott come in. Taylor Scott had a bit of a rough time here. He, was not quite looking as sharp as he did the rest of the season. He picked up his 9th hold still, only pitching 1/3 of an inning, giving up a run and an earned run, and 2 walks as well. I think Taylor Scott is just a little gassed. He's over 60 innings pitched. I'll see if I can look that up real quick. He's definitely it's not that I don't believe in Taylor Scott anymore. I just think that he is gassed. I think it might be tough to depend on him quite as much as we depended on him in the early beginning of the season. Yeah, he has 67 2/3 innings pitched on the season. He's just not as dependable as he was in the middle of the season. He's still making my playoff roster. I'm just saying he might not be the guy that I'm putting in the 8th inning anymore. He might be a 6th or 7th inning guy. But we'll see. Maybe he can turn it around. Maybe this was just a couple bad pitches. Definitely could be other factors there, and he still has it. But he's been a little rougher lately. And I guess I'm just saying I'd be a little worried about using him in certain situations until he kind of solidifies his performances here. But no need to stress. Hader and Abreu were both used back-to-back days, so that's why Scott was in here. However, not being able to go the whole 8th, they called Presley to come in early. Presley ended up picking up his fourth save of the season. He ended up pitching the 8th and the 9th, going 1 2/3 of an inning, giving up 2 hits and goose eggs for everything else, getting the Astros out and getting the save. So that was amazing to see, because obviously Ryan Presley has had some command issues this season. He's had some injury issues this season. They've gone hand in hand. he's had multiple stints on the IL where he's kind of gone on and off and come back and just looked still a little shaky. But since his last stint in the on the IL, Ryan Presley has been great, and we need him. So it's incredible to see him do this amazingly, and also just have the team rely on him again. I think that's big for him and his confidence for him in his new role. I think this is great things for the Houston Astros that Ryan Presley was able to come in here and do this and help them win yet another game. Then yesterday's game, the Astros won 6-4. This was a very fun game. The Astros getting the sweep. This was also the Roberto Clemente game with a lot of the Houston Astros wearing 21 in honor of Roberto Clemente. Kyle Tucker, you could see out there wearing 21. He is the Roberto Clemente nominee for the Houston Astros this season for his work in the community. So shout out to Kyle Tucker. Respect to Roberto Clemente. And all of the players that have that deeply respect him and love him. Roberto Clemente was an amazing ball player. So it was good to see that. Good to see them honoring Roberto Clemente. Ronald Blanco started this game, coming back off after his short stint not in the rotation and in the bullpen. He had a great outing, but got really lucky towards the end because he started missing the zone very badly and consistently, and with multiple pitches, not just one type of pitch. Truly, I hate to say it, but I think he's gassed. But he's still good. He gave us enough to win the game. It was great to see Ronell go out there and compete, but I do think that we might have to put Ronell on a tighter pitch limit. I think he might be gassed. I mean, he's pitched a lot of innings. He is a converted reliever, so this is his not only his first full season as a starting pitcher, but in the major leagues, but his first full season as a starting pitcher, I think, period. So Ronell might be feeling it. I think we might need a pitch limit based off of how he was really pitching towards the end there. It was, I mean, some of those pitches were pretty wild, and if I was the Angels, I'd be worried about getting in the batter's box there. Definitely some major league wild thing for a couple of those pitches. And in this game too, Jason Hayward says, "Hey, Huacata," he gets his first home run as a Houston Astro. You love to see that. So let's kind of get to the stats here as I am trying to work without notes and just clicking a bunch of buttons on my phone here. There we go. Ronald Blanco wins his 11th game of the season. He is now 11-6 on the year. He pitched 6 innings, giving up 4 hits, goose eggs for runs and earned runs, only 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts here. You love to see that. Ronald Blanco was very good in this game up until that 6th. Really, that 5th and 6th inning were a little rough for him, but he had enough to get through the game, to get that quality start, get through the 6th inning, and to help the Astros win this game. However, we'll get more to it later, but I do think a pitch count restriction might be in Ronald Blanco's future. Moving on to the offense here. This was a bit of a tougher game. It was not the offensive performance of the first game, but closer to the second one here. The top of the lineup really was quiet in this game, with Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, and Yainer Diaz all getting 0 hits at the top of the lineup. This game, the Angels sent out Caden Dana, their rookie pitcher, and he really did a good job against the top of the lineup, if nothing else. For sure. I think, it was the bottom of the lineup was able to get to Caden Dana, especially Jason Hayward there, but the top of the lineup kind of struggled there. Kyle Tucker was 0-4. He did work a walk and struck out 3 times in this game. He was able to come across as a run, but he was not able to pick up a hit. Caratini played first base in this game yet again. John Singleton has been out with illness. Caratini was 1 for 4. And Pena, once again, like I said, we want him to rack up some hits. He was 2 for 4 in this game with an RBI and 0 strikeouts. So good to see Pena trending the right way. And Jason Hayward says, hey, with the home run here, his 8th of the season in the 3rd inning. Hayward was 3 for 3 in this game with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Hayward really had a great performance starting for Ben Gamel in this game and also starting for left field, which is not a thing that Hayward does very frequently, if at all. So it's good to see Hayward out there stepping up for the team, getting some hits and fielding a different position than he's used to. Jake Myers was in the game as a center fielder. He was a starter there, center fielder. He was 1 for 3 in the game, and Doobie was a starter at third base for Bregman in this game. Breggy getting the day off. That last game was tough for him with the strikeouts. I think he was just a little tired, maybe needed to rest that shoulder. Good call there by the skipper. Joe Espada making sure everybody's staying healthy towards the end. Doobie was 1 for 4 in the game with 2 strikeouts. Overall, the team only had 8 hits. Good for 6 runs on 5 RBIs with 4 walks, which is nice, but 9 strikeouts, which is not so nice. The team was 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position. They did have opportunities. They did get enough. 40% will take it, but you always want a little more because, of course, I'm greedy when it comes to those hits with runners in scoring position. I love that risp, but yeah, it was enough. They left 7 on base. You don't get too upset. Obviously, you want less strikeouts. You want some more hits towards the top of the lineup. But if the bottom of the lineup's going to pick us up, so be it. We'll take offense any way we can get it. Let's check in with the Paul Pen Pals here with the bullpen. Hector Neris came in again to pitch for the Houston Astros. He pitched the 7th inning, getting a strikeout and continuing his great efforts as a Houston Astro. Then Caleb Ort came in. He had a tough game. It was a tough game for Caleb's. He came in the 8th inning. He gave up 2 hits that ended up giving up a run, an earned run on a home run. He did pick up a strikeout. Caleb Ort, he's been a little shakier as of late. He has been pretty solid for the Astros since he has been added to the team. However, he's having some mixed results lately. I don't think it's anything we need to worry about too much. As much as I was saying Caleb Ort potentially could be used in higher leverage situations, I don't think it was a thing that the Astros were depending on. So, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how Caleb Ort bounces back here. We're hoping for a bounce back. His ERA is still 1.61, but we're going to have to see some better results to make sure we can depend on him in the playoffs. Next, Caleb we have come up in the 9th inning was Caleb Ferguson, who really struggled. He only ended up going 1/3 of an inning pitched with 1 hit, giving up 3 runs, 3 of them earned run, 1 walk, and only getting 1 strikeout. The game got close. Hader had to be brought in with the bases loaded. And the bases ended up getting loaded after Hader gave. Sorry, I'm trying to remember here. I'm going off of memory because I don't have my notes here. Let's see if I can just pull it up and get some help from the internet, because the internet will tell me. Okay. So the 9th inning, I remember the 9th inning was a wild one. Caleb Ferguson walked a batter and he hit Mickey Moniak. That's right. So it wasn't an intentional hit, but Mickey Moniak got hit on the fingers. You don't want to see it. He kind of obviously wasn't intentional, but tough injury there. They brought in a pinch runner for Moniak. They called it. It was a thing where Moniak did get hit on the fingers, but it looked like it was a check swing that went through. So obviously, if you swing at a pitch and get hit, it is not a walk. So Astros pitching coach Joshua Miller was ejected for getting angry at this call. It was a tough game with the umpires. Buckner, it was just really making a show of the whole game. I think Joshua Miller was just very frustrated by this at this point. Ended up getting ejected. Caleb Ferguson got a strikeout, then gave up a single. Logan was on third. Logan Oppie was on third. Michael Stefanik was on second, and Jordan Adams was on first. So yeah, Josh Hader did indeed come in with bases loaded. Gave up a single. Gave up a ground out, which scored the Angels a run, giving the Angels 2, the Astros 6, and then gave up a single on a pop up to Kyle Tucker that was deflected by Jose Altuve, and then Hader struck out Neto to end the game. Sorry, now I'm just all over the place with what I'm looking at. I'm not even close to having notes. I just have way too many windows open. So yes, Hader got the 31st save of his season in that game. Obviously, the Astros sweep. The Astros, are now 81-68. Let's kind of look into the AL West race here. The Astros are 81-68, and Seattle is 77-73. They're 4.5 games back. Texas is 71-79, 10.5 games back, and one and done. Sorry, Texas Rags fans. Maybe Garcia should have had the same juice he had last season. They just didn't have it this year. When we're looking at the Fangraphs playoff percentage odds, the Astros are at 97.9% for the division. The Mariners are still hanging in there at 8.5% to win the division, and the Rags are now at 0% to win the division. So that ain't happening. I really, all hate aside, I did say that this, a lot of people were saying this Rangers team was a year early. They paid for a championship, and now they're having some growing pains. I do think this team can bounce back from this, not just because of the talent they have, but because of Bruce Bochy, their manager. But as their rivals, and because how much hate Rangers fans love to throw at Astros fans, because they're little brothers. That's just what they are. They live in our shadows and bask and have to be in the shadow of our success. So they're haters. So it's nice to be able to laugh at little bro for not being able to repeat. But I never expected him to get that far. So this is not a shock to me. But when we're looking at the divisional percentages, the Mariners are still hanging in there. When we looked at the Fangraphs power rankings, Fangraphs don't have Power Rangers, and if they did, I would want to be one of them. But the power rankings are saying that the Astros are still at the 5th place in the power rankings, but they are no longer in that elite tier as injuries have piled up and they've gotten spanked by the A's. So they're now... The Astros and the Diamondbacks are not in that first elite tier. They've been dropped down, which makes sense. We need to solidify things as a team. It's more pragmatic than the optimism from last week from Fangraphs, and that optimism very much scared me because I was like, oh no, why is everybody so optimistic about them? What does that mean? It just means they're a good team and the numbers and odds are in their favor. For the wild card here, Detroit and Seattle are both 2.5 games behind Minnesota, who have slipped lately and let teams back into the hunt. Boston also slipped down to 500 to hold the door open for Detroit and Seattle. So while Seattle is still struggling to get to a point where they could still contend in the division, they're winning enough teams, and other teams are losing enough to keep them in the hunt. So their season is not quite yet over. Even though it is a low percent chance, there's still a chance. So the Astros need to win some games here. Moving on to football fans. The Houston Texans win their home opener. They beat the Chicago Bears 19-13 on Sunday Night Football, going 2-0 on the season and on top of that AFC South, as the rest of the AFC South have yet to win a game. The defense battled well in this game and won the game for the team, getting 36 pressures, getting 7 sacks, getting 2 interceptions from Stingley and Lassiter, making things really uncomfortable for Chicago's offensive line and putting the pressure on rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. Truly fans were hoping for a slaughter, but this was a great effort from the D. Williams showed some strength to find ways to compete for his team, but overall, the rookie quarterback went 23 for 37 on 172 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The Bears were held to 71 rushing yards with less than 20 yards coming from the running backs, most of that coming from Caleb Williams. The Texans defense, obviously, for those of you who watch the game, the defense has some work to do. Obviously, I'm not trying to say this is a perfect defense and it's Super Bowl winning caliber. It's not like it's a finished product, but they are looking good in the neighborhood. They're trending in the right direction. They got some momentum, and I'm really hoping the secondary keeps improving. This young secondary, just keeps improving it, and they can find ways to mix the blitz in, because when they're putting pressure on the quarterback, this defense is looking good. But obviously, in that first game against Indianapolis, there are some times that the team can be susceptible to the long ball and to the big play. So you're hoping that these young defensive backs just keep learning, keep solidifying their pass coverage, and they can make it so that the defense is able to blitz and put some pressure on the quarterbacks a little more. It's not just when it's a rookie quarterback, taking snaps back there. Let's see. I really thought I had notes for this podcast, but I'm just really winging it out here. That's what I get when I introduce myself as an improviser. I have to prove it. This is it, folks. It's like a oops all vamping this episode. I'm just constantly vamping until I figure out what I'm supposed to say next. I'm really hoping that this secondary does continue to improve. The bloggers, the Texan bloggers and the Texans fans' voices that are out there on social media are not very happy with the offensive performance of the Texans this game. With only 19 points, and this game being a very close game, I think it really bummed people out when we were ready to crown C.J. Stroud and this very impressive offense as the new hot offense in the league. And they kind of disappointed a bit, there's really no other way to say it. They didn't disappoint me because they got the W. But at the end of the day, a lot of people were expecting more fireworks from this offense. C.J. Stroud was 23 and 36 with 260 yards, averaging 7.2 per attempt. He got 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. Nice. But is it nice enough? And that's really the question here. It's like, how much of this offensive quote-unquote disappointment has to do with expectations that were set up by power rankings and preseason rankings and stuff like that, and how much do we need to allow for some growing pains for this offense to start to gel together? I said that we would see Cam Akers in this game, but not like this. Oh, God, please, not like this. That's almost a Salem the Cat cry for those of you old as me. That old cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Or if you're older than that, maybe the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. Who cries like that nowadays? Gen Z. If you're a Gen Z listener of this podcast, let me know what new characters in pop culture cry like that type of a cry. I don't think we do it anymore. Can I claim it? If not, if nobody is using that cry, I would like to claim it. I'm calling dibs here. If no one's using that in this generation, it's mine. Okay, moving on about Cam Akers. Joe Mixon had a tough game, which led to Cam Akers getting some more play here. He was sat for a bit due to an injury. He got hit with a hip drop tackle, which we know is a no-no in the league. We should not be doing hip drop tackles. We want to keep players safe nowadays. I'm very proud of the fact that nowadays we care about human beings a little bit more. But yeah, we need to protect Joe Mixon out there. He got hurt. There was no penalty or anything called on the play. Joe Mixon even tweeted that he said that he thought that was an illegal tackle, to which the official just said that it wasn't. But the video evidence is damning. So Mixon got busted up pretty good. Akers had to come into the game. Cam Akers had 7 carries on 32 yards. Joe Mixon had 9 carries for 25 yards. Tank Dell had 3 carries. He got 16 yards. And Ngubwale got 2 carries on 3 yards. Obviously not the running game performance of the first week. The running game was not able to be established, perhaps due to the Chicago's defensive front. It's a very formidable front. You have sweat out there. I'm not talking about the perspiration. I'm talking about actual sweat on the defensive line. He's terrifying. So maybe it has to do with the Chicago Bear pressure and front, just being a little bit better against the run, and also expecting the run. Indy was trying to take away the pass. Chicago came into this game very much focused on kind of making sure they're taking away both to keep the Texans honest. They were prepared for a running game, and also perhaps the personnel is better suited for that. Or it could also be attributed to offensive lineman Juice Scruggs being out with injury for this game and a backup center playing in his place. He did a great, really good job filling in, but this offensive line just didn't have the same juice as a home opener and struggled to get the running game going in this game. I think the combination of not having your starting 5 offensive linemen out there, I think the defensive line looking to mix and match against runs and pass, and just personnel, matching up better against the Texans, really kind of aided this offense into struggling in this game. The run game just was not able to be depended on in this game, and that not getting started really put the pressure on the passing game against a formidable defense. But looking into the passing here, Nico Collins is him and proving it. He had 8 receptions here for 135 yards, 16.9 average, and 1 touchdown that came after a ball don't lie play when Collins was tagged with unsportsmanlike conduct for slapping a player away in dismissal. He kind of was goaded into it. Well, he was goaded into it. Some guy, the defensive back, but the defensive back put his finger in Nico Collins' mask, and Nico Collins just kind of like slapped, helmet, get out of my face kind of a thing. He was goaded into it, but at the end of the day, he did get caught. So that was terrible. But the next thing he catches a big pass, bumps into the defensive back to get him into the end zone and give everybody a hush up touchdown. It was a great game from Nico Collins, and he very much is the number 1 wide receiver on this team. There's no doubt about it. Stephon Diggs is great, but he is he's like a decoy / in and out slant route type guy. He's the crafty, wily veteran now. He still has it, but Nico Collins is in better form. He is him. Stephon Diggs had 4 receptions for 37 yards. Joe Mixon got into the mix with 3 receptions for 25 yards. And Dalton Schultz, got 2 receptions for 21 yards. I tried not to blow the mic out there. I did that earlier and had to edit it out. But you're here for Hogan Heroes references and Wizard of Oz voices, right? Oh God, how old am I? Schultz got 2 receptions for 21 yards. Ngumbawale got 2 receptions for 20 yards. Cade Stover came in, got a reception for 18 yards. Brevin Jordan got a catch as well for 4 yards. Cam Akers took up a catch for 3, and Tank Dell caught 1 reception for -3 yards. And that's kind of what I want to point out. One thing that people have been critical of for the Houston Texans, I should say, is that their offense just was struggling because of some play calling. I get it. It was a tough game. I think they couldn't get some momentum. I think they need to be a little bit more flexible in their offensive play calling there if things aren't going quite their way, or if there's injury. I think it was a tougher game. But what I will say about what I can point out, I am not an offensive play caller. I do it in Madden for sure. I do think that they could have benefited from a better offensive game plan. There's no doubt about that. I do think that, in certain situations they needed to have better plays, better play sequencing. But I do think they kind of were just surprised by the Chicago Bears defense, how they were being played, and the fact that they just didn't have the offensive line personnel necessary probably for the game plan. They should probably be a little more flexible. But one thing that I think definitely needs to happen when it comes to game planning and game scripting is Tank Dell. Where is Tank Dell? 1 reception, -3 yards. I don't like that. Moving on real quickly, 12 penalties in this game for 114 yards, including some from tackle Laramie Tunsil. You can't win with penalties and turnovers. That's just a fact. Winning with this many penalties and having a turnover, it really goes to show that the Chicago Bears, while we were like, we should skunk them, we should beat them handedly, this was beating them handedly. Having that many penalties and a turnover and beating them, that's not going to happen against that many other teams in the league. No disrespect to Chicago. This team's figuring it out. This team is trying to protect their young quarterback. This team is depending and relying on a defense to help get them through this season while they figure out their offense and find a way to get time of possession. This team beat us in time of possession. While the Texans played very well and were able to have a great time of possession in the last game of 40 minutes. In this game, they could not run the ball and could not have a good time of possession. The Chicago defense won the time of possession game. That's what they're going to do. The Bears are going to grind out some games. They're going to try to hold on to the ball. They're going to smack offenses around with tough defenses and try to out-scheme them. The defense out-schemed the offense. That's just what happened. Going forward, the Texans are just going to have to be ready for some tough schemes, and they're going to have to honestly sharpen up some of these penalties so that if this happens again, they're not giving the ball up. They're not taking all these steps backwards so that they can win these football games. I can assure you that head coach Dynamo Ryans is talking about the penalties and the turnovers and the mistakes in this game much more loudly than I ever could, and much more scarier than I probably ever could. Moving on to the special teams, Ka'imi Fairbairn, what a baller. He was 4 for 4 in this game as our kicker with a 59-yarder. This dude, he's just a paper towel dispenser at the airport because this guy is automatic. That 59-yarder just seemed like it was easy for him. He also had a 56-yarder, a 47-yarder, and a 53-yarder in this game. Quote from Dynamo Ryans, "He's the reason we won these games. He's the reason we're standing here." End quote. That's your head coach, Dynamo Ryans, talking about your MVP of the season so far, kicker Ka'imi Fairbairn. He's the reason. He's the hoobastank. And the reason is you, Ka'imi. So thank you so much. You're the real MVP. Another quote here that I found on the interwebs. Will Anderson Jr. on NRG. When he was asked about the stadium and the environment there, it was, quote, "It was rocking. I got chills. I looked up and I've never seen the roof open. It was wonderful to see the fans come out. We do it for the fans. We want H-Town to mean something. We want our fans to be part of something great. I mean, absolutely amazing. That's what you want to hear. What better way to get the Texans fans behind this team? I mean, you don't have to say much, but Will Anderson's really pumping us up, really saying great things about us, folks. In Houston, look, I'm out here in LA. I'm not going to be able to go to, most likely, unless it's a complete surprise, I'm not going to be able to go to a Texans game this season. So for my sake, if you're going this season, go out there, be loud, make some noise, have some fun for me, and to be my surrogate there, get loud for me. Moving forward, looking at these Houston Texans, they're going to need, obviously, less penalties and health. Having Juice Scruggs and Joe Mixon out for part of this game and Juice Scruggs out for all of the game is not going to help this offense. I also think some flexibility in the game planning or some different offensive looks. I mean, once again, free Tank Dell. Where is my man Tank Dell? He is too good to just be a gadget play receiver. I know we like Diggs out there because he's the captain of the team. He's very much out there cheerleading people, giving people veteran advice, and being a great guy on the team. I love Diggs being on this team, but I think Dell needs to be out there more, getting highlighted here and not just on the gadget plays. See if we can get Dell going down the field maybe. If we, Diggs doesn't go down the field on those routes anymore, let's get Dell going down the field. Maybe this game we couldn't do it because pass protection just wasn't there for those longer shots. But we need a little bit more flexibility in that game planning and having some looks go Tank Dell's way. Obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, defense and special teams right now is looking good. We just need to keep that momentum and keep building this team up. Imagine how good this defense can be when it's fully healthy. The Houston Texans' next game is going to be Sunday. They're going against the 2-0 Minnesota Vikings at Minnesota. This was the team, if you listen to Paul's picks, the Minnesota Vikings is my hipster team of the year. This could be a very scary team. I'm not saying they have all the talent, but they seem to be very much coached up. They seem to be having an identity that they know who they are, or at least are buying into who they're being told they are. I think this could be a sneaky tougher opponent than we were thinking, just kind of like the Bears were. We were thinking the Bears were going to be a gimme game, and it was much closer than we thought because we just didn't have the health and because their defense was real. I think Minnesota is going to show up big for this game, so the Texans can't waltz into this game thinking that they are NFL darlings and are just going to win the game. They're going to have to game plan. They're going to have to come with some offensive looks. They're going to have to get ready on defense for some plays that are making up in some cases for I'm not trying to be mean to Sam Darnold, but lack of a stellar quarterback in their system. They are working with a game manager type. That's fine. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think they are. I think they're gonna have to be crafty with their scheming, and their defense needs to be wary. Their offense needs to be better. The coaching in this game is going to be under a microscope, I believe, for the Houston Texans, and the players need to go out there and execute the game plan with less penalties. Moving on here, the Texans, once again, we're not in the playoff hunt yet for the Texans, but in the AFC South watch, the Texans are top of the crop, 2-0. And let's look. How many wins has the rest of the division have? That's right. Nothing. No other team has won right now. The Titans, the Colts, and the Jags are not looking so hot right now. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But right now, the Texans are looking like favorites to win the division. Moving on back to the Astros, we're looking at some roster movement here. We usually do a roster movement / injury report update because it happens so frequently. It is the most popular segment of the podcast because it is the most reoccurring segment on the podcast. for this week. The Astros don't have any roster movement, believe it or not. We're not calling up a pitcher this week, or at least for this podcast, maybe later. Ben Gamel is out day-to-day with that knee bruise that he sustained in right field in Los Angeles. John Singleton was scratched earlier from the lineup with illness against the Angels. There also was a lot of left-handed pitching coming from the Angels, so it was a mixture of him not getting a lot of starts against lefties and then him being sick. Hopefully we'll see some Singleton. He's finally got some momentum behind him. If he's part of our plans for the playoffs, we need to get some momentum for Singleton. We need some John Homerton going. And also, I thought this was hilarious. In the injury report for the Houston Astros on the MLB app, in the injury report, it says Kyle Tucker homers for his first time since June 1st. I mean, that is accurate. I don't know why this is listed on the injury report. Is he still injured? Like, it's the rest of the season. Anything Kyle Tucker does is going to be listed on the injury report as well. Just so you know, Kyle Tucker's back and he's doing good. I don't know. I don't know. If you know why these things are listed on the injury report, write in, call in, and tell me. Speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports if you want to call into the podcast. Obviously, it's not live, but if you have that answer for me, I'll put it on air. Why was that listed? I don't know. Let's see here. Moving on. In another segment here, as we're wrapping up the podcast, what's the deal with my Seinfeldian segment is what's the deal with JV? Why does everybody think he's cooked? Is it the results of his last two outings? Probably. His last three, I should say. I don't think JV is cooked. I think he is injured / coming back from injury and finding his pitching arsenal again. And he's older. The problem is we don't have a lot of time for him to figure it out. I think he is figuring it out because his last start was solid. So I don't think JV is cooked. I just think he's older and running out of time to get into the right shape for a playoff push. I'm not saying JV is going to come back and be vintage JV, but I have confidence that he knows what it takes. He knows his body, and he is pushing to get his body right for the playoffs. So I don't think he's cooked, but I think the other questions might be more valid. Like, is Ronel Blanco the better starter? Well, first things first, of course, we got to win the division. We're looking at that 97.9%, and it feels pretty certain that the Astros are a lock to win this division because the Mariners will have to play outside of their minds to just to keep pace with the Astros, just playing mediocre baseball. So that for that reason alone, a lot of odds makers are very, very bullish on the Houston Astros, and they have been. I have, obviously, as a big Astros fan, I know that they can do it, but this whole season I have not said they're back because it just hasn't felt that way. So knowing that they're 97.9% locked to go in, but seeing how they're playing, I'm still wanting to see more. So obviously we want to win the division first, but we're most likely going to be talking about playoff rotation, so why not start talking about it now? With me saying JV isn't cooked, but he can get there, I also said that in past podcasts that I think he's a fourth starter in the rotation as long as he keeps improving in these last two starts. So I'm keeping it there because he's improved in his last two starts. However, with Ronel Blanco having a great start as well, losing a little steam at the end, with JV having better results, but also being an aging pitcher, I think it's time to start talking about a piggyback. That's right. I want my piggyback. I want my piggyback. I want a piggyback start with JV and Ronel. Give JV 3 innings, give Ronel 3 innings. I think that is a good thing. I think a little minor league kind of thing would be fun, would be nice. And if one of them catches a little fire, you want them to go 4 or 5 innings, then you pretty much have two pitchers going almost a complete whole game in the playoffs. I think it would be weird, it would be different, but I think it could save both of these pitchers from long outings and from tough outings when they have trouble with their command, seeing that one JV is trying to get back and find his release point, not his release points, I would say. He's refining his techniques so that his breaking ball can still be competitive and set up that fastball. And Ronald Blanco's just a little gassed. There's times where he's up there in the past month where you can just tell he's not as sharp as he used to be, not just earlier in the game, but earlier in the season for different outings. Is this a piggyback situation? I think if we go Fromber, so in my previous podcast, my playoff rotation was Fromber, Hunter Brown, Yusei Kikuchi, and fourth is JV. And I said Ronald Blanco comes out of the bullpen for this team. So instead of Ronald Blanco coming out of the bullpen, what if you just have JV set as the fourth starter, but you're just letting JV know, like, look, JV, this is piggyback start until we figure out what's going on with all of your mechanics. We just want to keep you sharp. We want to keep you healthy, but we need you for the team. We don't want to bench you. I think JV's in for it because he knows his limitations. Everyone says JV is a diva and a prima donna. He's just super competitive, and he wants to play at the top of his game. And also, when you're there and you're trying to get those contracts, you need to prove that you're him to get those good contracts. Now that he is aging, now that he knows, I think he knows that this next contract is not going to be the big JV style contract. I think he's going to want to show that he can be a team player, that he can compete on contending teams, and is willing to do things, like do piggyback starts. I think it'd be something he could go for if he knows that his body's limited. Now, if he thinks he's good, that's another story. But I think we want a piggyback start here. And then you have Spaghetti Man coming out of the bullpen as well. I don't know, though. Let me know what you think at Paul Salazar, JR, on social media, speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports if you want to leave a voicemail, or spacecadetsports.substack.com to leave a comment on the blog. Let me know what your playoff rotation would be if you were setting it. If you were manager Joe Espada, if you were Joe Cool, who would you be picking? I know what I'm picking. I want my piggyback. Let me know what you think. Moving on real quick to Dynamo Corner. The Houston Dynamo punk Real Salt Lake 4-1 at Shell Energy Stadium. The Dynamo didn't get a clean sheet because of an own goal. Mamma mia. That wasn't very fun, but it could have been another clean sheet for them, but didn't happen. Real Salt Lake really didn't make that much of a threat offensively, but you're happy to see the Dynamo rack up some goals there. Wednesday, they are at home versus the Vancouver Whitecaps, who are 13-8-6 on the season. Your Houston Dynamo are 12-8-8. It's good for 44 points, and that's good for 7th in the West. They are behind the Whitecaps, who are 6th. And the Houston Dynamo are trying to stay in that 7th seed, not to drop to the 8th or 9th spot, to have strong playoff hopes. We'll see how the Dynamo do going forward. Thank you for joining Dynamo Corner with me. We will leave that really quickly. They're kicking us out of the corner. Let's look at the Houston Astros going forward. This series that starts today against the San Diego Padres. Tonight, we have, and like in a couple hours here, we have the Spaghetti Man start for the Houston Astros. Let's look at his advanced stats per Fangraphs here. He has 26 games started with 131 and 2/3 inning pitched. That's a 27.4% strike rate, a 10.6% walk rate, definitely high there. A 35.2% ground ball rate. His ERA is 4.72, and his field independent pitching is 4.17. He has a 1.5 WAR on the season, and he will be going up against Yu Darvish, the right-handed pitcher for the San Diego Padres. His season has not been very long, so he's not as tired as other pitchers. He's only pitched 13 games this season. That's good for 64 innings. His strikeout rate is a little lower at 23.6. I believe that's still hovering around league average there. His walk rate is super low at 6.5. His ground ball rate is at 38.3. Gives him a 3.53 ERA and a 3.91 field independent pitching, good for a 1 WAR. Yu Darvish is a great pitcher. That's going to be hopefully a pitcher's duel if the Spaghetti Man can show up, but also if the offense wants to just kind of put the hurt on Yu Darvish, I wouldn't be too mad about that either. But that's looking like it could be a nice pitcher's duel there. The next game tomorrow, we have Diesel going up for the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown is there. He's pitched 28 games this season with 158 innings pitched. His strikeout rate is 25.3. His walk rate is at 8.4%. His ground ball rate is at 48.7, so that's a nice percentage there for Diesel. His ERA is 3.59, and his field independent pitching is 3.60, so it's like pretty much the same number there. His ERA is his FIP. That's fun. He has a 2.9 WAR on the season. Diesel definitely helping the Astros win games this season. He has kind of been the anchor of the rotation because of how much he's been pitching, and that's even with missing a start there because he was struggling in the season. He will be pitching against right-hander Michael King. Michael King has 28 games started this season. It's 161 point and 2/3 of an inning pitched, 28.1 strikeout percentage, which is pretty good, with an 8.8 walk percentage and a 40.6 ground ball percentage. This guy is pitching really good this season. He has a 3.06 ERA and a 3.40 FIP with a 3.6 WAR. So Michael King has really been contributing to a lot of the San Diego Padres' success. That ERA is low. The FIP shows that, perhaps there's more bad balls going into play, could be going into play there for him. He might be getting lucky with that defense. Moving on to the Wednesday game, the Astros have La Grasa starting for them. He has 26 games started for the Astros with 163 and 2/3 inning pitched. His strikeout rate is 24.5 with a low ground ball rate of 7.9%. That's a 7.9 walk rate percentage, I should say. His ground ball rate is absolutely astronomical. He has a 60.5% ground ball. His 2.91 ERA and 3.15 FIP with the 3.6 WAR. Those are amazing numbers. La Grasa definitely having an amazing season for the Astros. He will be pitching against Dylan Cease, who's the right-handed pitcher for the San Diego Padres. He has 31 games started this season with 176 innings pitched, a lot to eat for Dylan Cease this season. He has 30.2 strikeout percentage, which is the highest of the group, with an 8.7% walk rate. His ground ball percentage is 39.7. His ERA is 3.58 with a 3.15 FIP, even better than the ERA with a 4.3 WAR. Dylan Cease is pitching amazingly. However, his last 7 games, he has a 4.23 ERA and a 1.46 WHIP. So maybe we can kind of catch him while he's a little tired here. But the San Diego Padres have great pitching and a solid lineup. This will truly be a playoff test. The Houston Astros have done better against tough teams, but they have also been making the season excruciatingly long for me. So we need a series win here, but it will be a test to see where this team is at, how healthy they are, and kind of how much they're pushing to win some games. Shout out to Cousin Terry. We've been talking a lot of Astros baseball lately, but in the comments section, she put that, they're just sandbagging. They're always sandbagging these Astros. Maybe they're sandbagging to make sure that they stay exactly where they're at. They're in the playoff in the playoff bracket here. If the playoffs ended today, maybe they would have better situated here to go against Minnesota and then perhaps the Guardians, as opposed to going up against the Royals or the Orioles and the Yankees there in the other bracket. So, I don't think they're doing it. It's nefarious or anything like that. But, we hope that they win this series for sure, and they're not out there sandbagging. The Astros' magic number is 9 today before the game against the San Diego Padres, and they have 13 games left. The long and winding road article I wrote about the Astros getting to the playoffs, I said they needed to get 87 wins. I was projecting to get there. They need series wins. And they needed series wins to get there for sure without dropping too many series as losses. And going forward, they're going to need series wins in each of the remaining series to get us 9. So, they're going to have to compete against the San Diego team, and this will be a playoff-type feel for the Astros and the way Joe Espada manages it, I feel like. Tucker coming in and pinch hitting late. There's been a lot of that lately. Quicker hooks for pitchers, stuff like that. I think it's going to be managed. We're going to see how Joe Espada manages. I have a feeling this series is going to give us a taste of how he manages playoff games. After the series against San Diego Padres, they have 4 against the Angels at home, 3 against Seattle at home. Big series there, obviously. Then a day off, and then Cleveland at Cleveland to finish off the season. We are running out of regular season baseball, and the Astros are playing good, giving us a lot of hope, but we're hoping for some series wins here so we do not have to stress out at the end of the season here, and we can kind of take it easy and speculate and postulate about playoff rosters and stuff like that, as opposed to freaking out and worrying about our Houston Astros getting us there. Here's hoping and here's praying, folks. We need that win today to get that series win against the San Diego Padres and their great pitching and their great lineup. It will be a test for our Houston Astros. The keys to success are definitely going to be long outings by our starting pitchers and truly long at bats by our hitters. We have to, while we want to be aggressive, as the game goes on, we need to not expand the zone, not chase outside of the zone. Really work some great at bats to get the results we want. Hoping we can get some walks in there and less strikeouts. The Astros are going to need to work better with runners in scoring position, or they're just going to have to keep hitting 2 home runs or so a game. I'm hoping that they figure it out. They've also, even after that game that they lost to the oh my goodness, I forgot now when they lost on all those bunts. Oh my God, it was so frustrating. But they've even been bunting better. But we're hoping the Astros can find that offensive identity by hitting in clutch situations and getting those numbers up with runners in scoring position. Let's cheer them on, folks. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We very much appreciate you here. Please smash the buttons, like, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and share with other H-Town hustlers, other Texans and Astros fans out there that need some good news in their life. Let them know that I'm out here preaching for them. Please check out the Substack. That's spacecadetsports.substack.com. You can get every post, every podcast and article and meme dump emailed directly to you for free at the website, or you can download the app. Search Space Cadet Sports, click that you want notifications instead of emails, and you get notifications on a mobile experience instead of the subscription model in your email box. I like that better. Go ahead and check that out for me and support the podcast. As we're a small place here, so we only go as far as our listeners take us. Any sharing and any reviewing is very much appreciated, folks. Please reach out to me and let me know what your playoff rotation is on social media. That's at Paul Salazar JR on all the cool platforms, or you can leave me a voicemail on SpeakPipe. That's speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Leave me a voicemail. We'll see if we can get it on the episode, or at least let me know what you're thinking. I want to know your playoff rotation as well. If you're just here for Carla pictures, you can find them at good.dog.carla on Instagram. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for rating it. I really do appreciate all the support here. It's a passion project. I love talking about Astros and Texans and Houston sports. Thank you for listening, folks. I appreciate it. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos, Astros y Texans.